Hi everyone. Um, just want to say I am feeling much better. I have been left with this lovely nasally voice though, so please excuse the fact that I still sound sick, but I'm actually not. Um, I did have a really rough time with it the last 10 days or so. Um, I wasn't so much as struggling with being sick. I seemed to get over that within 36 hours for the most part. Um, I really just needed to rest, and with a little one, I wasn't able to do that. And obviously, I couldn't even get anyone else in to help me because we were in isolation. So, um, I was in a lot of resistance last week to what was going on, which has brought me to the messages that I'm going to share with you today, or concepts, whatever you want to look at them as. But I really just wanted to touch on feeling sick because I know a lot of people out there are struggling with it at the moment as well, whether it's COVID itself or a lot of these ascension symptoms. The body has been taking a real hit, and in many cases, it's been leading to this kind of heavy blanket like feeling. Um, I would describe it as a moderate depression. Which kind of blindsided me, to be honest, because the last video I made, I said I was sort of feeling over the worst of it, and I wasn't expecting this kind of heaviness that came afterwards. So as I said, I'm feeling much better, and I hope if you've been sick and if you've been struggling that you're starting to feel a bit better. Although I must say that I'm expecting to see an increase in energies arrive in about 24 hours, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more, but thereabouts. It will be tomorrow sometime here in Australia. And yeah, so probably not the wonderful news we were hoping for, but we'll see what happens. Last weekend didn't get as big storm level as it was anticipated, which was a bit of a welcome relief. It did fluctuate between minor storm and active and calm. It sort of had a bit of everything going on. But do not fear, we did have a lot of energies coming in. So what I wanted to share, there's about 4 different things there. I'll talk about them individually, but it's all tied together in one big picture. As I said, I was really struggling and felt like I was in a lot of suffering. Again, not so much in terms of feeling sick with the flu, but it was just my body wanted to just rest and it couldn't, and I seem to think that I should be able to, and so I was just having all this struggle with just getting up and down every 5-10 minutes and not being able to just sit quietly. And so I sat there and asked why I was finding all of this so difficult. And four sort of different things all came in individually, but as I said, tied together. So, and excuse me if I sort of drift off and waffle a bit. I'm present, but I'm also feeling like I'm kind of just drifting. It's quite a nice feeling, but I do feel a bit absent. So, but I did want to make this video while I have the opportunity of a few child-free hours, and then as soon as I'm done, I'm going to lay down for some much-needed self-care, which I think we could all do with at the moment. So the main message I got, and this came in loud and clear from a few different directions, is when we're in suffering, when those darkest moments, when we feel the most despair, it is because we have a picture in our mind of what should be occurring. Reality is not fitting that picture, and instead of accepting what is, we are trying to, on some level, control how things are playing out and are being met with resistance, hence the suffering that we're feeling. Now, I'm not saying there are not very, very valid reasons for people to be experiencing genuine suffering at the moment. I would not consider what I was going through true suffering in that sense, but it was very real to me, and I was feeling like that was the case. the message I got with it was acceptance is the way to experience it, and a reinforcement that acceptance is not condoning anything. It's not agreeing to it continuing. It's simply seeing the reality of what is in this moment, accepting that it is what it is, but trusting that the only constant, the only thing that doesn't change in life is change itself. It's the one constant that is there. So no matter how bad it seems in that moment, trusting in a higher power greater than ourselves, essentially a greater version of ourselves, that is guiding all of creation, not just this circumstance, to relax into that and almost hand over the reins and say, I'm not enjoying this by any means, but I'm not going to try and make it something that it isn't, because we can't force what is to fit into our box of what we think it should be, no matter how hard we try and how wonderful that would be. So the message is, it's a similar analogy that I've used before about relaxing into the current and letting it take you. It's taking you on a journey. This is not the forever stop. So acceptance that what is actually what it is, and not trying to make it into what I or you or anyone else out there think it should be, is how we experience it with more grace and ease. It's in the acceptance and the easing into what is that allows organic change to happen. The change that's meant to happen can't come while we're trying to force everything and to control it. So yes, that in itself explained why I was suffering. As I said, it's really only a small thing, but last week it felt pretty damn huge to me. But I was in resistance. I had this image that I was sick, so I should be allowed to rest and just do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. You know, get up, have something to eat, go back to sleep if I wanted to, and have that opportunity. The reality was I have a 2-year-old child that had been sick and was now feeling much better, was having cabin fever because we couldn't go anywhere. It was pouring with rain, so we couldn't really even sit outside. And so had I accepted that that's what the situation was and found a way to just relax into it as best I could, I have no doubt my week would have been filled with a lot less suffering. So yeah, I hope that makes sense, and I hope it helps. There is a greater meaning with this, which I think is, as we're moving into this next phase, sometime last week, towards the end of last week, I felt things shift, and we've moved into what I consider the next phase. I don't know exactly what that is, and I don't know exactly when it happened. Like I said, I've had a lot going on and just, dealing with that. But it did happen, and so we are in this next phase now. For how long and exactly what it is, I'm not sure, but what I've been shown is that many people are going to be doing this. They're going to be having a fixed idea on how things should be unfolding within and around themselves, within the world at large, and they're going to be in a lot of resistance and trying to force and control things to fit their idea of what they should look like. The root cause of this is fear. They're firmly attached to their beliefs on what the world should look like, and they're not willing to bend, not yet. And so they're going to be, in many cases, people trying to force their image, their picture on everyone else around them in their in their attempt to try and force control. But the reason they're so attached to their beliefs and that picture is because for some reason it makes them feel safe. And we all know what it's like to feel not safe and to try and hold on to things. So yeah, we can probably expect a lot of people around us to start trying to force situations in an attempt to feel safe, by a false perception that they are in control that allows them to feel safe. In many cases, I don't think it's going to be malevolent attempts at control. It will just be coming from a fear energy. So to try and have compassion if people are trying to force their views onto us, to understand that they are just trying to keep control of a rapidly changing reality, and it's scaring them. I'm not saying we need to put up with it or to pander to that fear and that behavior, but to acknowledge that the root cause driving it is fear. And I think we can all have compassion for that. The other thing that came up with this, it's been a huge purge. I initially thought, oh great, I've got COVID on top of all these energies, like this is not the time for it to happen. Now I believe it was the perfect time for it to happen. I'll talk about that more another time, but it was aiding this whole purge process that we've been going through, which is why it's been so intense for about, I don't know, the last week and a half. And will continue. We're still going to, well, we're expecting energies to increase tomorrow, so it's definitely going to continue. I'm not looking too far ahead at the moment. But with this purge energy, what's happened for a lot of people, and myself included, is we've let go of a lot that was still keeping us on some way, some level attached to the old world. Whether it would be, going out for drinks with friends, or going to, dinner, or I don't know, whatever it used to be. This great purge and release of a lot of things has left many people feeling, I'll say emptiness. I don't know if that's the right word, but almost like there's all this space inside of them now. And for some people that's very uncomfortable, because we've been so used to feeling full to the point of burdened by many of the things that we were still interacting with the outer world, that now we've let them go, which is largely from our thoughts and beliefs changing around what we need to put our energy into and what we don't. There's a caution. Some people are trying to rush out and fill that space because it feels so foreign, and this would not be the wisest thing to do. What I'm being shown is ultimately to try and sit with this more lighter, expansive feeling. It may feel hollow initially because it's something we're not used to feeling. And you may feel loneliness with this, or frustration. It's like nothing in the outer world draws you in anymore. Nothing lights you up. There's just nothing there that really appeals to you. And this is a really interesting transitioning stage, because like I said, there is that rush for some to just fill. Perhaps you walked away from a relationship that you knew wasn't serving your highest good, but now there's this feeling of emptiness inside. There's a rush to fill it with another relationship instead of building that relationship with self. And that's not a judgment. I've been there. I've done that in the past. Or an uncomfortable feeling when you're alone, because you do feel this emptiness, a rush to just go out and connect with people, that often leaves you feeling more drained. It didn't actually help because it wasn't aligned. It was something you did out of an impulse to replace something. So where you can, try and sit with this lighter feeling. I won't say emptiness. It is appropriate, but emptiness almost puts a negative connotation to it, and I'm not meaning it that way. So sit with this lightness, this space that's now opened up within you. And if you do feel that you want to feel it a little bit, now would be a great time to pursue those things that used to excite you and light you up when perhaps you were a child, perhaps as a teenager or a young adult. If you're, in your 40s like me, then there were many things that I used to love to do. And as I got older and more responsibilities started coming into my life, those things we put on the back burner and we figure there'll be time for them later. But life seems to just get busier and later never seems to come. And what we have then is a life where we either don't do those things at all, or we only have time for them once a week or twice a week. And so we get those small moments of joy, and then it's like that's not enough to keep us sort of enjoying, engaging with the world. So the message is, if you don't remember what lights you up, figure it out. Explore anything that you feel drawn to try. And, maybe it's not for you once you try it, but at least you've explored it and But if you find the things that light you up and find ways to bring them into your daily routine, and even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes, that is bringing those moments of joy into every day, which eventually, this is what fills your cup to overflow. And then that overflow kind of spills out and permeates all of what you would think of as the boring or the mundane aspects of life. And when you know that you're going to be doing what you love each day, it gives you a sense of purpose to get up and to get into the day, because you've got that to look forward to, instead of thinking, like in 2 months I get to go on a retreat or in 4 days I get to go to yoga. I mean, there's nothing wrong if that's all if that's all you can manage, but if you know that you've got it coming in every day, you look forward to it, and that then like a little kid excited about Christmas starts getting excited all day, because that joy is present. Again, I hope you know what I'm saying. I feel like I'm drifting off a little bit here. Sit with the space that's been created if you're feeling that sense of emptiness, and it's almost a boredom with life, because it just doesn't, nothing on TV interests you anymore, or, the things that you were doing that used to give you some partial enjoyment, if not full, now give you nothing. So an opportunity is being presented. And I know it can be uncomfortable at first, but it would be worth exploring, in my thoughts. Also, and I hope I'm understanding this correctly, I know that I've done this and do this using what I guess you would call spiritual tools and processes as a way to connect to either our higher self, to source, to the creator, whatever name is most comfortable to you. So whether that's using crystals, lighting candles, using incantations, or spoken word, creating that space and using tools where you get that connection, all of those things are fine, but sometimes they can become not a crutch, but we can mistakenly believe it's the use of those things that allows us to have that connection. And what I'm receiving is that the connection is always there. It always has been, but we've forgotten largely how to access it. And the thing is, it's so simple. The key to that connection has always been the breath. And one thing I've found on this journey is the things when I first hear them that seem like, oh, that's just too simple. How can that work? That's just too simple. Otherwise, they're the ones that are all we really need. So like I'm saying, with using tools to connect and processes and everything like that, I still do it. There's nothing wrong with it, but what I'm being shown is I don't need to do it. That is not what gives me the connection. The connection's within each of us all the time. And it's the breath that leads us into that connection. And that's why people have these experiences with and do meditation, which focuses on breath and calming the mind, quietening it, not stopping it. It's impossible to stop that level of monkey mind. That's just what it does. Don't resist it. Transcend it. That's the whole point. It's not, I've heard people, and I'm going to digress for a second here, but I have heard people say it's about killing the ego. I don't think it's about killing anything. I think that all of us comes with all of us, in the sense that we're not dumping our physical body. It's transforming. It's coming with us, but just in a transformed state. So we're not trying to kill the ego. The ego's role is transforming into something else now. When we're asleep, it's captain of our ship. It's keeping us alive in this world and giving us a sense of self. There's nothing wrong with that. Then we get to a point, though, where the ego personality recognizes it is a vehicle for soul energy to express through. And this is just the individual way that it's expressed, which is why we all need to shine our own unique light and not compare ourselves to others, even those that we deeply respect and admire. It's fine to do that, but not to weigh yourself next to them, because they're them, you're you. You can be similar, but you're going to be different. And that's the whole point. We've been conditioned to try and fit in and be like everyone else so that society accepts us. And our greatest power and gift to the world comes from embracing what makes you, you, and me. There's a million people doing things out there that I really respect. And I've now realized that I don't need to be doing them. I'll keep doing things my way and finding my way. I might be doing things similar to others, but I'm doing it as me. And I think that's the big key, isn't it? To just really recognize that we are all similar, we're all connected, but we're all having a unique experience, and that's the beauty of it. So instead of trying to get others to conform to how we perceive it all, it's so great to be able to just listen to others' perceptions and think, wow, we're all sharing the same journey, but we're all walking different paths. And it's, you don't have any good conversation with somebody who's just saying exactly the same thing as you. It's diversity that makes things interesting. Anyway, so I'm sorry, digressing there. So I just want to say, short and sweet, I don't think it's about killing off anything. Everything's a transformation in this. Nothing's getting left behind in this process. It's simply transforming into something else. So yeah, the message is follow the breath and quieten the mind. So this doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to learn any specific meditation technique or breathing technique. There are great ones out there, and the right person using the right tool for them can have fantastic results. But so many people struggle with it and feel like they're failing, and so they give up. To me, meditation is simply going to that space where you're not trying to think of anything, even stopping your thoughts. You're simply stepping into the role of the observer and watching things travel past, and noticing that you have a thought, but not attaching to that thought and then going in circles. It's just observing. It's like observing. Sorry, that word just sounded like I'd said it wrong then. I had to think about it for a sec. You're watching yourself think. And that's what it means to step back into that place of higher mind, which is no thought, but awareness and impulses that it receives and then processes as thought. So follow your breath, quieten the mind, and there comes a space where you just let go of thinking and let yourself just fall into that space of awareness. That is then when those moments of connection can be experienced. And when we realize that we can do this at any time just by consciously focusing on our breath, that connection's there, then we start to trust that inner voice more. We start to trust that presence is there all the time, not just when we manage to find those moments of connection. It starts to, I guess that's when we really start bringing spirit into matter and making every aspect of this physical existence a spiritual one. And it doesn't have to be overt. I've got to be honest, there's some people, I'd say quite a few, that seem to just love making this stuff weird. And making out that nobody can do what they can do, and putting a whole lot of, showmanship behind it. And each to their own, but for me, it's always been about normalizing this, showing people you can have faith in something greater than yourself without being, fully out there and weird with it. We've all got these abilities. A lot of people don't realize that they have them yet. When I first started thinking, I should be hearing messages, I should be seeing things, to be honest, I thought it was going to flash up like something really solid and tangible in front of me, or this clear inner vision. I didn't know it was those brief flashes of something I saw and almost missed. That, if I asked you to imagine something